She was accused of murdering her roommate and sentenced to 26 years in prison before being acquitted. This is the story of Amanda Knox.
It was, a woman did it.
And it became sexualized.
I tre sotto l'influsso dello stupefacente, in un pesante gioco sessuale.
Meredith era mia amica e non la odiavo.
I think if you went back to Italy right now, you could ask anyone, say, yeah, she's a killer.
Il cognome è KN.
Sì.
Qualcuno è praticamente entrato in casa sfondando la finestra.
Un attimo,
It's November 2nd, 2007, in Perugia, a city in central Italy. On the first floor of this building, the police make a gruesome discovery.
E ci sono fuori dalla porta di questa coinquilina che non c'è delle macchie di sangue.
Del bagno ci sono delle macchie di sangue.
Meredith Kircher, a 21-year-old British student, is found dead in her bedroom. Her body has been stabbed 47 times and had a gaping wound to the throat. Her American roommate, Amanda, and her Italian boyfriend, Raffaele, were the ones who called the police.
She met this guy, Raffaele Sollecito. She literally had met him like 7 days before this crime occurred. And he was a big hash head. So there was a lot of smoking hash and they were high all the time.
The couple claimed to have spent the night of the murder together at Raffaele's house. Amanda says she returned the next day to her apartment and discovered bloodstains in the bathroom that she shared with Meredith.
She'd seen there was some blood on the towel or the bath mat in the bathroom. Nobody was there, and she'd had a shower and then she'd gone back to Raffaele.
Rimangono le scelte di fare una doccia in una casa completamente aperta dove ci sono delle tracce di sangue, non sono comportamenti del tutto ordinari.
As they talked about it, she thought it felt a bit unusual, and they tried to call Meredith.
Cioè, questa ragazza avete un cellulare?
Sì, l'abbiamo cercato di chiamarla, ma non risponde da nessuna parte.
Then they called the police, and when the police arrived, then they broke down the door to Meredith's room, and that's when the body was discovered.
Amanda Knox was 20. She came from a broken home in Seattle and acting in a way that, let's say, Italian girls of that age don't, sex, drugs, doing yoga exercises in the police station after the roommate was murdered. She quickly attracted the attention of the prosecutor.
The reason that Amanda Knox was in the frame was purely on the basis of the theories from the local prosecutor, Magnini. Magnini's theory was first, and then after that, it was a case of then trying to find any piece of evidence which will then come into that. He said that Meredith's body, had been covered with a duvet. As he told me when I interviewed him, this was really clear to him. He said that the woman must have been involved because only a woman would cover the body of another woman.
A clue is discovered that backs up Prosecutor Magnini's suspicions. The police claim to have discovered a knife at Raffaele's home with Meredith's DNA on the blade and Amanda's DNA on the handle. A few weeks after the start of the investigation, a piece of Meredith's bra, which she was wearing on the day of her death, is found at the crime scene. It has Raffaele's DNA on it. The Italian, British, and American media go into a frenzy.
This was such a sensational case. It became like a soccer game or something, like the three national interests.
That it became sexualized. That it became circus of speculation. Her nickname was Foxy Knoxy. It was totally distasteful. It had nothing to do with the death of Meredith Kircher. It had nothing to do with looking for justice.
Under intense questioning, Amanda accuses Patrick Lumumba, the owner of the bar where she works, of killing her roommate. She retracts her statement shortly after.
Perché non ero sicura quale fosse la mia immaginazione e quale era la realtà.
At the crime scene, investigators find DNA traces belonging to Rudi Guede, a young Ivorian man arrested in Germany. During his trial, he claims his innocence and accuses Amanda Knox.
E ho avuto modo di, guardando attraverso la finestra, di vedere la sagoma di Amanda Knox.
2 years after the murder, Amanda Knox and Raffaele Solicito are on the defendant's bench. Prosecutor Menini accuses them of killing Meredith Kircher as part of a macabre sex game.
I tre, sotto l'influsso dello stupefacente e verosimilmente anche dei fumi dell'alcol, decidono di porre in atto il progetto di coinvolgere Metz in un pesante gioco sessuale.
Meredith era mia amica e non la odiavo. L'idea di vendicarmi su una persona che è sempre stata gentile con me è assurdo.
Amanda Knox and Raffaele Solicito are respectively sentenced to 26 and 25 years in prison.
It was a witch trial, and the prosecutor was a very, very religious man, like hardcore religious. The focus immediately was on this photogenic woman and whose presence on the crime scene instantly provoked this prosecutor's traditional superstitions.
So I traveled to Perugia and interviewed him. But he struck me immediately as somebody who was not interested in reason and logic and following the evidence. I just got a feeling of somebody who was detached from reality.
Prosecutors said Knox's DNA was found on the knife's handle, while the victim's DNA was found on the blade.
The knife was found at Raphael's house, where Amanda spent loads of time, so obviously it would have her fingerprints on it. And the DNA which was found on the blade was so scant and unreliable. There's no proof to say that that was Meredith's DNA at all. But importantly, the knife was too big. It didn't match the injuries that she had on herself, on the body.
Tutto questo lavoro che è stato costruito facendo una serie di errori, non un errore, una serie di errori.
But you could see images, video images of various people from different elements of the Italian authorities walking into the crime scene. There's a video footage of them and just smashing the glass on the door and kicking it in order to try and get in. It's not light touch professionalism that you'd imagine to see in other places. It was quite clear that everything was contaminated. So anything that they collected from that crime scene was of very, very little use. Apart from a bloody footprint which entirely matched the size and shoes that were worn by Rudy Guede.
Months before the murders, the summer before the murders, he was actually doing home break-ins, burglarizing what he thought were empty offices and houses. In his first conversation that they taped, Rudy Guede says Amanda had nothing to do with it. As soon as he got back to Perugia, he started putting her in.
E ho avuto modo di, guardando attraverso la finestra, di vedere la sagoma di Amanda Knox.
You don't need to have a law degree to understand what was going on there. When they understood that he was involved, they didn't turn the ship around. They just continued on, and they did because there were 20 TV trucks in the piazza, and they could not get up in front of them and say, we made a giant mistake here.
È un processo purtroppo con una pressione mediatica inaccettabile.
After 4 years in an Italian prison, Amanda Knox is acquitted of the murder of Meredith Kircher. So is her former boyfriend, Raffaele Solicito. Outside the courthouse, an angry crowd expresses their outrage.
I think if you went back to Italy right now, you could ask anyone. I'll say, yeah, she's a killer. They got her out.
We now respectfully ask you to give Amanda and the rest of our family our privacy that we need to recover from this horrible ordeal. Thank you.
Meg has been almost forgotten in all of it. The media photos aren't really of her. There's not a lot about what actually happened in the beginning. So it's very difficult to kind of keep her memory alive.
In 2014, Amanda and Raffaele are once again convicted. Amanda is sentenced to 28 years in prison, a sentence even heavier than the first one. But the following year, they are both acquitted definitively.
Ora voglio soltanto tornare a vivere e dimenticare tutto quello che di brutto mi è capitato.
Rudy Guede is now the only person convicted for the murder of Meredith. He was released from prison in 2021 and still claims his innocence.
Ero una furba, psicopatica, sporca e drogata puttana, colpevole fino a prova contrario. Perché nella corte dell'opinione pubblica tu non sei una persona umana, sei un oggetto da consumare.